Welcome to In Vivo Leadership Strategies podcast. I am your host, Yasmine Sadaghiani, and today is a really special day because I got to spend some quality time and record this podcast with none other than my sister, Yasmine Sadaghiani. She is a fantastic nurse. She is getting her nurse practitioner certificate as we speak. She has her MSN in nursing. She actually has interior design background, which is fascinating to listen to. So that will be part of the podcast. What I am talking to her about is her experience in terms of burnout in hospital setting. She is now basically gone out of the hospital field and into aesthetics. She's thriving. I have her information, Instagram, on the description of this podcast, but it is definitely worth listening to. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to In Vivo Leadership Strategies podcast. My name is Yasmine Sadaghiani, and I'm really excited to talk about burning out and have a very special guest with me today. So I will be biased a little bit only because not only is she one of the best nurses I've ever had a chance to see in action, but she is also my sister. So welcome to the podcast, Yasmine Sadaghiani.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. It's nice to officially be on a podcast with you, Sissy.
Thank you so much. Now, you and I have been on podcasts before, but
this is true.
More happy contents with like Disney movies that we need to kind of get back to and get into business later podcast on. But this is definitely more of a leadership podcast than business. So I'm really excited to have you for a couple of reasons. One is you are fantastic in what you do as an aesthetics nurse practitioner, soon to be nurse practitioner. Yes?
Oh, God.
So can you tell...
Take the exam.
Exactly. But can you tell our listeners how you got to where you are now?
That is a good question. So, like, from the way beginning, like, why I wanted to be a nurse, or just how I got into aesthetics, I guess.
Why you wanted to be a nurse, and then how you got into aesthetics.
Yeah. So why I wanted to be a nurse, I would say I'm one of the cliche people that are like, I always knew I wanted to be a nurse, but the thing that makes me different is I didn't pursue it. I always knew I wanted to be a nurse, and I would say it was when I was 3 years old when we saw Grandma, pass away.
Yeah.
And I remember just wanting to help. I know I was 3 years old, but I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to do something. I wanted to help. And later on, I had this I was very sensitive to elderly. I couldn't even if they were struggling to cross the street, all I wanted to do was in a car, get out, let me help them, let me do something. So originally when I got into nursing, I wanted to be working with elderly people. So I wouldn't say skilled nurse facility. I mean, I didn't really know much, but I just knew I wanted to help people who were sick, who were older. Mm. And then I pursued design instead because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think that I was capable of taking these courses. I didn't think that I was smart enough to take these courses. Wow. Yeah. And so I just, said, no, you can't do it. Just go aim for something else. Another passion of mine happened to be design. You know this. I used to play Sims all the time, and I loved creating the homes and then designing it. And then I'd play with the Sims a little bit, and then I would trash it and then start a new one.
Which I hate to stop you there because I think you're putting so many you're saying so many great things in just your what you've done so far. And what I think is interesting is you were like, oh, I won't do nursing, that's too risky for me, let me do interior design, which is even riskier than nursing for me.
Why?
It's I feel like it's a lot more competitive, and it's not like that's a need to the extent that a nurse is in the market. The job.
Yeah. It's true. I didn't think that far. I mean, a lot of people, I remember family members were like, why are you doing interior design? You're not going to make that much money. Don't you want to make money? And I was like, I'm not a money-driven person. Yeah. Obviously, now at this age, I'm like, money does help a lot, and it would be great, and it is nice, but it doesn't drive me to what I want to do. I just, yeah, anyways. But yeah, I pursued design thinking, and it was a second passion of mine. I do love arts. I have
and you're very good at it. You're very good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, as a child, I've always been artsy, creative. I really enjoyed that side of things. I worked with kids a lot. I mean, I would say for almost, was it 9 years I worked with kids, so I did a lot of arts and crafts with them. And yeah, that aspect of it, I did enjoy design courses, but it was my last semester of my design program where I said, what am I doing? I need to be a nurse. I want to be a nurse. So I remember I sat with the counselor and I said, hey, like, I want to switch to nursing, and the school I went to was known for nursing. So I was like, is there any way I can just, like, finagle my way in? And she's like, no, it's way too competitive. You're going to actually have to finish. She's like, I recommend finish your bachelor's degree in arts and then go back to community college, take all the courses you need for the prereqs, and then, apply for the programs. So I did. I got my bachelor's in arts with an emphasis in design, interior design, and went on to IVC, Saddleback College, and took all these courses. So I went with, all heavy design-based courses to all heavy science courses. And, everybody says, don't take microbiome with anatomy and this and that, and don't do that. So my first semester, I did that. But big mistake. But anyways, it was really hard. I was 27 years old. I was in school with, I think I was 27, 26, 25. But I was in school with 18-year-olds, and it was really hard because they were getting it really quick. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not understanding these concepts?
You never even came across those concepts.
I didn't. Yeah. And, it was last time I took any kind of science was in high school. And to be honest, I didn't really take it seriously in high school. So, yeah, I had to teach myself the basics before I even, knew the lessons or learned the lessons. And that was really hard for me. So, but that's how I knew I wanted it. I wanted it bad. I was older and I wanted to pursue it. And then, sure enough, finished my prereqs, and then I went and applied to schools, and I did entry-level master's program because I had my bachelor's, and I said, I'm not going to get another bachelor's, there's nothing wrong with it, but I was like, let me just try to aim for a higher degree at least. Did the entry-level master's programs, interviewed with some, got waitlisted, and accepted to another school, and then the school I ended up going to, and then did nursing school, and that was a freaking beast of its own. Yeah.
And then you finished school.
Yeah.
And you started to apply for positions in different hospitals.
Yeah.
Were you excited when you got hired to work at a hospital? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So applying for a job as a nurse was really hard. New grads, it's competitive. Everyone's like, oh, there's such a demand for nurses. Yes, but not new grad nurses. A lot of places, it's a lot of investment for hospitals to put money and train a new grad nurse and then find the people to train them. I think I applied to over 100 different jobs. But yeah, interviewed. I was very excited to work at the hospital. Super excited. I was like, I can't wait. I finally get to do what I love. I finally get to pursue my passion. And then, yeah.
Well, let's go into the and then, yeah. So I want to do a quick skip because you worked at the hospital. You worked at a couple hospitals. More than a couple. And then you went into aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
Where this is now your home. You feel comfortable. You're happy, would you say? You're happy?
Yeah.
And then just for fun, I know you also have an Instagram account, which is called what?
Injector Yasmine.
Yasmine. And it's a really great Instagram account. Again, I am biased. I'm very aware of that. But I've also seen her in action with what she can do. And she's very... She's to me, Michelangelo of aesthetics.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. I got a lot to learn. Always.
And I think that's really good that you say that because I really do believe leaders who are great at what they do, they always think there's room to grow and there's room to do more. Now, I want to go back to the hospital experience. The time you finally got to work at a hospital because you had worked so hard to get to where you wanted to be, which was the hospital. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. So actually my first job was in aesthetics, but it was going to be my side gig. So I got that. I started that, but then applying to multiple hospitals, like I said. And I got accepted to a very well-known hospital for labor and delivery, which I ended up turning down because I wanted to work at another hospital that was closer to home, but it was a contract position. But I saw it as my way into this also nice hospital. But I was a COVID nurse. And, this was, I would say, around the second wave of COVID, where it was getting busy again. It was crazy. So I was on the COVID unit. But technically it's med surge overflow and tele, which probably means nothing to you. But yeah, I was a COVID nurse. I liked the job a lot, but I would say it's mainly because of the people I worked with. But was I stressed? Yes, incredibly stressed. I had an amazing team that helped me, keep going. But I always felt like my license is on the line. I'm unsafe. I just want to make sure everything is done correctly. But when you're so overwhelmed all the time with so many patients and so many things to do, and you're a new nurse, it's a lot. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's this unit. Let me switch. Let me try another unit. And I did
So
that.
instead of thinking like I'm burnt out, you were like, well, maybe it's just this is not the right department.
Yeah. And I was working because I was working a lot. I was, paying off my school loans, which was so much money. It was well over, let's just say over 120K, well over that too. But yeah, I was like, okay, now that I have this job, I'm making decent money. I wouldn't say it was still great money, but it's decent money. I was like, let me go hustle so I can pay off my loans. So I was working 3 night shifts, and then I was doing overnights, and then going to my other job and doing the aesthetics thing on the side. So sometimes I wouldn't sleep for 24 hours. I would sleep like 3 hours and then go to my shift and then work again. And it was a grind, and a lot of people do it. A lot of nurses do that. They kind of overwork themselves. I don't know what it is, but we have this like grind. Where was I going with this?
Yeah, so that was your experience coming like as a fresh.
Yeah.
It
was a lot.
You were dealing with a lot.
Yeah, so I switched my units and said, you know what, maybe it's the unit that I'm in. And again, it was a contracted position as a COVID nurse. They did want to hire me on, but it was for the med-surg tele unit, and I never, I wanted to do labor and delivery. I thought that was my passion. So I went on to another hospital, and I worked as labor delivery nurse. And because I was only 5 months in as a COVID nurse, they treated me as a new grad. So I went into labor and delivery. I was trained on that job as well. Same thing happened. I was again burnt out, overworking myself, and didn't feel safe again. Just felt like there was a lot, even though it's a 2-to-1 ratio, you have 2 patients, but it's very easy for things to fall through the cracks. And I just don't again, patient safety is always number one for all nurses. It should be, at least for all nurses. And so when I felt like there's ways for those things to fall through the cracks, I didn't feel safe, and I didn't want to put myself in those positions. And I found myself time and time again being in those positions. So then I switched again to postpartum, tried to do that. Now I have 8 patients because it's mom and baby. In the hospital I was at, everyone was trying to deliver babies. And so it was like, as soon as I discharged, 2 people, I already have people in line for my next ones. And it was a lot. And
you were overwhelmed.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed,
to say the least. So tell me, what was the moment that you realized you really didn't want to do this? You wanted to leave the hospital setting. And how did you navigate the fear of making such a big shift?
I realized I kept trying to switch places. So by then I worked at, I think it was 4 hospitals. And my 4th one, I was doing per diem, which is basically 1 shift a week that you have to commit to. And sometimes you're on call. Sometimes they're like, we don't need you. So I tried to do that. I'm like, let me see if this works. And then I take on more aesthetics. But they call you by 5 p.m. And I remember I waited and I anticipated. And I was like, please call me off. Please call me off. I found out one time I got a call that they said they didn't need me, and I was crying because I was so happy. And I'm like, hey, this isn't normal for you to cry because you were so happy they didn't call you in. And it doesn't mean I didn't like the job. It doesn't mean I didn't like the people. It was, I would say not the job of itself. I love being a nurse. I love helping people. but it's so stressful being in that position. I didn't like the stress of it, but I loved what I did, if that makes any sense.
If we were to pinpoint, not to say blame something, but in one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this podcast was to talk about leadership and to talk about ways that we can help our people feel more comfortable in the positions that they have, just do a better job of it. What was it that you felt in that environment wasn't helping?
I think one of the biggest things that really bothered me is, why am I spending hours on a computer charting on somebody when I've spent a total of 5 minutes with them? Mm-hmm. I hated it. It doesn't make sense to me. I thought being a nurse meant you get more patient time and you're there for them. You know, I had new moms learning to breastfeed, and I was, stuck in a room sometimes for an hour, but I loved that hour. Yeah. But then I was so behind on my charting. I was so behind on everything. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I think that's what really did it, is we're trying to, protect our license, which I'm blessed that we're able to do that. But I feel like the world has become so sue hungry that, like, you work your ass off to be a nurse, and then you work your ass off to protect your license and everything you worked for just to help other people. But now it's become chart, and I'm not even spending the time with my patients, which is what I initially wanted to do as a nurse, is be with that patient.
So the operation, in other words,
totally.
What's expected of you.
A lot more rules, a lot more policies. Yeah. And it kept adding. They'd be like, okay, guys, now you guys have to chart this. Now you guys have to call the doctor and, tell the pediatrician yourself that this baby's born. Or, like, it was just, like, one after the other. And they kept adding onto your workload. And I understand the logistics of it and why we have to do those things. But at the same time, it's just become so much more charting and so much less patient time.
Mm-hmm. So that's when you realize this is not cut out for me, versus, like, this is not a department kind of issue. It's more the hospital setting isn't welcoming for someone who's, and I know you. I saw you through that entire experience, and I remember even when you had night shifts, I would call you. I stopped calling you after your night shifts because I could tell you were so tired. You didn't make any sense on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought I made sense.
Yeah.
No, I was exhausted. I was pretty burnt out.
So how did that experience, what did you take out of it then when you came into aesthetics? What did that experience teach you as you went into something that now you're very passionate about?
I think that, at least the beauty with nursing, but I think with any position, it's similar. There's always a way out, and there's always an avenue you can take where you are happier. Mm-hmm. But you have to kind of read yourself and see where you're at and make that decision. Like you saw, I was jumping around from hospital to hospital because I was like, maybe it's the unit, and it was not the unit. It was the policies, everything about just working in a hospital setting. So yeah, I would say I learned that there's always a way out. You're not stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from a patient standpoint, what did you take out of that experience for yourself?
Oh, God. I mean, like if I was a patient in a hospital myself?
No, now tending to your patients as an injector.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, I mean, I spend so much time with my patient and interact with them, and I love my job. Because I can sit there and honestly, sometimes it's like therapy sessions together because they're telling me things that happen to them. I have my regulars. I see them. It's so much nicer. And I still chart. I take the time to chart, but I have so much more time with my patients, which I really value.
Do you think that for us, from a corporate point of view, we're spending way too much time focusing on the wrong things and the right things? And what are the wrong things and what are the right things?
Yes and no. I understand the logistics of why we have to do what we have to do because it's really it's for our own protection. I just think it's like where the world has led to. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Where has the world gone?
The world has gone to money chasing, fame, hunger, success, like at any level, whatever it takes, they're trying to find a way to get money, and a lot of suing. A lot of people, I feel like, are gearing towards it's their life, and they don't realize other people are in it, in this world.
And how has that affected you and fellow nurses like yourself in this field?
I think it can get really frustrating. I mean, a lot of my friends are still nurses in a hospital setting, and I think, when you're a patient in a hospital room, you think you're the not that you think you're the only one, but you're like, why is this nurse taking so long? And we've been there, when grandma was sick and it was in the hospital, and we're like, why is it taking 30 minutes? We really don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And outside of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say on a patient perspective is just try to be understanding. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't, nurses that, are being lazy. There's always a select few, but I would say for the most part, you really don't know what they're going through and how much stress they're under.
Yeah. And for our listeners who just heard her mentioned our grandmother, we had our grandmother in the hospital for, back and forth for the past 6 months, but just recently we lost her, and we just had her funeral. So, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this, because we continuously saw nurses going in and out of the room. We waited for 30 minutes to an hour sometimes when we would ask for things. It was getting to a point where Yasmine would have to do things herself. We were really lucky to have her with the experiences she had. But at the same time, we noticed how we could lose lots of great people in this field because of the lack of, operational efficiency would be a way to say it in my world. But I think for you, it's more, can we have more patient care? Can we have more FaceTime? Can we just be there for our patients? Because majority of the nurses, that's exactly what they're there for.
Yes. And I will say one thing I noticed as well, being in the hospital with grandma a lot, all the nurses there, either they're fully veteran, they're 20 plus years, or they're brand new within, I would say, a year or two nursing. A lot of grandma's nurses were 3 months into it, 6 months into it.
They were so new.
And all of them, not the veteran ones, but the new ones wanted to get out.
Yep.
And what a lot of my friends say, it's the new leading the new. And so you become senior staff super quick now because everybody's leaving. Everyone's over it. They're tired of this kind of lifestyle. And yeah, it's the new leading the new. And it's stressful. And they all asked, how did you get into aesthetics? How do I get out?
Yeah. And with aesthetics, now you have somewhat of a leadership role in there. You have taken all the lessons that you've just shared, plus more, I know. What are some things that you plan to bring with you as a leader in the aesthetics world?
I think in this role, I can utilize everything I wanted to do as a nurse, and I wanted to be as a nurse, which is that patient interaction time. So I plan to bring that. But I will say my hospital experience really did help me, because believe it or not, people pass out on you all the time when you're injecting them. I've had a patient have a full-blown seizure while I'm injecting them. I've had a patient choke while I'm injecting them. It happens all the time. And so, my floor experience really helped me kind of recognize those signs or know what to do. But it doesn't mean that nurses who don't have it don't know what to do. But I think it's really helped me and shaped me to be what I am today. But what I plan to bring is kind of a management style that, when I have people under me, other nurses there, I want them to feel free, to come and talk to me and address things with me and tell me how things can be improved. But patient safety is always number one, and to make sure that they have enough time with their patients where the patient feels valued. And I think that's where the hospital's starting to lack. You're just a number. And I don't want people to feel like they're just a number. Especially in aesthetics, sometimes it can feel that way. It's a 10-minute appointment for Botox or neurotoxins. But I don't want a 10-minute appointment for neurotoxin. I want you to feel valued. And luckily, the place I am today, aligns with these values too. It's 30-minute appointment if I want it to be. If I want to just interact with my patient and make them feel valued.
That's amazing. And to continue your story, your career is while you're doing all these wonderful things with aesthetics, you pursued nurse practitioner certificate, which hopefully that you're done with the courses and you'll take the exam and you'll be an MP and we will celebrate you 100%. What are some things that have helped you with the burnout?
Yeah. Honestly, I think talking about it, family, therapy is great. But always, I think just reminding yourself you're not stuck. And like, if you're burnt out, do something about it. Stop just sitting in that, like, environment, because it's gonna eat you alive. And so, like, just get out. And I tell this to all my friends, if you're not happy in your job, leave. There's always something. And now if you financially cannot do that, I understand that too. Keep grinding, but, like, look for other positions. There's always a way out. Mental health is so important and it's so overlooked, and I think, like, the way we were all raised by the generation before, I guess it's 2 generations before us, it wasn't, mental health was not really a thing. And so when we're struggling, we're like, no, it's okay. But we're learning about mental health a lot more now. And I think the millennials, it's starting that people are like, no, we need to actually address these things, these issues that have, arisen. Is that a word?
Rose. Yeah.
But anyway,
you can tell we speak a second language.
Clearly, English is our second language. Arisen, I think, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, just address them, and yeah, find something, do something for you, and listen to your inner voice.
What does your inner voice say about what you're doing today?
I think no matter what, you're always going to think you can do more. And I think that's just, maybe it's us thing, our gene thing, but I think there's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth, and there's always room for more success. But I think it's what is driving you. Is it just money, or is it passion and love for what you do? So I think don't chase things for the money of it, chase things for the passion and love. And of course, money is helpful and it's great and it can help you, but don't let that be your drive force, the only thing.
Lots of listeners, I think, could relate to that, because most of the time you're thinking like an entrepreneur, and one of the traps of an entrepreneur is you want money, and you want money fast, because at the end of the day, that's what you need to produce.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about passion, there's this drive of, well, we need to bring in more clients, we need to bring in more profits, whatever, right? Just more money. So you get stuck in that mentality. I think it's also gotten harder, and you can relate to this because you were, of course, a nurse in a larger setting in a hospital, and now you're in a smaller setting, working with a doctor in an aesthetics.
He likes to call it, it's a wellness center, but
it's a wellness center. So what have you noticed that's been different if you were to compare your experience at the hospital versus your experience at the wellness center?
Girl, my life is different. Hospital, I mean, I was doing nights, so that alone, night shift is a different beast. The people are great, but oh God, you're like out of body when you're readjusting your life. So let's say I do 3 nights in a row. The next day, the full day, I'm transitioning back to my normal schedule, right? But while you're trying to transition back, it feels like you're in a dream. And I don't know if every nurse feels this way, but maybe like a really bad jet lag, right? Like you just don't feel like you're yourself. And by the time you like fully adjust back, you have another night shift. And it's this like thing that just goes on, and some people are doing this for so many years. So just imagine how much damage it's doing to your body. So in that sense, yeah, a lot. But three shifts a week is really nice.
Yeah.
I miss that, but at the same time, it's not worth your mental health. So yeah, I would say I right now work 4 days a week, four, sometimes 5 days a week, but it's so much more worth it, and the hours are way more doable. I'm like 10 to 5:30. It's so nice, or sometimes 9:30 to 5. But yeah, it's not like a full 12-hour shift.
Is there a way to attract nurses and give more ways for them to feel supported, nurtured? What can hospitals do?
It's a really good question. Because a lot of doctors, they have scribes, which actually help them with the charting. But then the other aspect of it too, I can see, is you can't trust other people with your work because you still have to protect yourself. So there's that aspect of it. But yeah, I would say some certain policies that are like put onto the nurse, maybe take those away and give it to another role, or create a role for, a specific person to do those things.
I'm almost scared to say this, but it sounds like it would be great if your scriber is an AI tool that does the scribing for you.
It could be, as long as we're checking and making sure everything is done correctly. But yeah, that would be great. It would be super helpful. In some ways, I think AI can really help the world, and then in some ways, I think it can tear it down. So I kind of like struggle with that aspect of it.
You and billion of us.
Yeah,
you and billion of us.
It's like social media, right? Social media has the power to like really help everybody, but at the same time, it's ruining a lot of people's minds. And I really hate, I have a social media account, I have Instagram, but I cringe every time I post, because I always tell people I hate social media. It's a love-hate relationship. I love it. I love making funny videos, but then there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of judgment, and I just don't want to be, I just want to move around in secret. And I had a patient tell me, she's like, I know you move in secret because I hear your name from people and I come to you. And I'm like, oh, this girl likes to move secretly. She doesn't want people knowing about her. I'm like, yeah, I want word of mouth. I don't want to be, this big Instagram influencer. And I mean, everybody does to a certain extent, but I just think it's too much. And
You're very good at it. So since we've gone to that Instagram route, what are some things that have helped you as a leader running an Instagram account and an entrepreneur?
I think what my lesson with just my life in general is to learn to be confident and trust yourself. So whether it's me as a leader or not, but confidence is not knowing everything. And I think that's where people really struggle, is they think they need to know everything. Confidence is knowing what you don't know and admitting you don't know them, and then searching and finding how to do those things or learning about it, right? So I think that aspect of it helps me with social media too, is I know I don't know everything. There's always room to grow. I don't think I'm the best of the best. I don't think my injection technique's the best. And I don't want to show myself off as I am the best. I just have fun with it and take everything lightly. So I think that helps me with the social media aspect, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to put all the pressure on myself.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to burn out, which is exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So to finish off this podcast, do you have any advice for those who are feeling burnout, or those, I mean, we can go even specifically, hospitals, nurses? What are some advice that you can give from a leadership perspective?
I think, and I say this to my friends, if you're not happy and you are tired, take off some of that load that you've put on yourself. It's not worth your mental health to make whatever it is a couple $1,000s more, especially in a hospital setting. Feeling that pressure of you need to pay off all these things, like I feel that too with my loans, my student loans. I keep talking about it. It eats me alive sometimes, this, but sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, this is not worth my sanity. You never know when life is going to be taken away from you, and do you really want to be working every single day of your life just to pay off some, you know what I mean? Like put in that amount of, obviously, put in some amount, but don't make it your entire life.
Yeah. And
live your life. Don't forget you, right? And I said this in my speech, and I used to follow Yes Theory on YouTube. I don't know if I ever told you about them, but they always talk about seeking discomfort, and I live by that, is seek discomfort, find uncomfortable situations. Why do you feel stuck? Go find something else. Search for something that brings you discomfort. Apply for a job that brings you discomfort, but you're like, oh, I kind of want to do it, you know? Challenge yourself, and you're going to really learn what you're capable of. And I say this a lot, you're your biggest obstacle. You are in control of, you know, letting things stop you. So don't let it stop you, and pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my advice.
That's great advice. Thank you so much for sitting here with me, and I do want to dedicate this podcast episode to our grandma. She inspired us to keep moving and become leaders, especially because she lived in a world where that was not given as an opportunity to her. Yeah. So this is for her, and that's all we have. My name is Laylee with In Vivo Leadership Strategies, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
One more time, your Instagram, please.
Yasmine. I'm Yasmine. My Instagram is Injector_Yasmine, and then my TikTok is Nurse_Yasmine.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you.